Wow, who's there? Who are you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, you described the prosecution of Roger Stone as righteous. That's clearly something that the President and I disagree with you on. I would suggest that perhaps
would evolve. I have a feeling that everything for this conference, which was scheduled for early June, was done, ready to go, ready to roll out by the time the news came that we weren't able to proceed. Dan can certainly talk us through any of those decisions, and I'm sure that that made everyone's lives very, very challenging. But we evolve and we adapt, and the conference will go on in a virtual setting. And so we're just curious to learn about what that's going to look like for both the participant and for any sort of marketing, digital sponsoring type opportunities for funds. So that's why we brought you all here together. And I planned for today to kind of go, maybe 15 or so minutes of some guided topics, the topics that we put in the email that we had sent to you prior, and then we'll open it up to any additional questions that you might have for Dan. Sound good? All right. So, Dan, you just sent over to us, and I'm not sure if everybody else has seen it, but just sort of an overview of the structure of the conference, sort of how you're planning to roll this out to advisors. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that's going to look like?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's great to be here. Quick introduction. I know some of the people in the room. Brian Culpepper, I haven't talked to you in a while, but we were in touch when I was working different territories. So Dan Atkinson, I cover conference and advertising sales for Morningstar. My territories are the East Coast, inclusive of New York City, which we consider a separate territory. So it's good to be here. We've been thinking nothing but conference for the past handful of months. As Melissa mentioned, we were all set to go with our annual Morningstar Investment Conference. It was supposed to take place June 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Chicago. And the pandemic threw us a curveball. So we've been scrambling as a firm to figure out a way to create a virtual event for not only the Morningstar Conference in the States, but we also have multiple conferences across the globe. So we've done that. We've had our best people on it, our best marketing people and design people and conference people. Our focus was really, we had a couple things that we were focused on. Number one was translating what people have come to expect with the Morningstar Conference from an in-person event to a virtual one. And then from a sponsor perspective, making sure that all the things that make sponsorships valuable to our partners, most of whom are in the asset management space, want to make sure that translated. So we've worked over the last few months. We're working with a firm called Intrado. Intrado is going to host the virtual event. It's going to take place September 16th and 17th. So the typical conference is 3 days. This is going to be 2 days. We're not skipping a beat though, because instead of the 3 days, really half, the afternoon of the first day and the morning of the last day, we're just squeezing it all into a 2-day period. We've updated the agenda a bit, just given that the world that we're living in right now from an investing standpoint, and really I think in every way is different today than it was when we finalized the conference. So we released the agenda today. You can take a look at that, and we've made sure to create a new conference experience, a virtual one that has all the things that make MIC, Morningstar Investment Conference, great, and that's Morningstar's top thought leaders and top thought leaders from across the investing industry that aren't trying to pitch anything at the conference. There's no pay to play. They're simply there to talk about high-level investing and how current events are impacting those, how new investing strategies and products are impacting the space, all the things that our advisor attendees, the media, sponsors and exhibitors have come to expect. Okay, so that's a little bit of background.
Great. And Dan, how are registrations from the advisor community sort of coming along?
Yeah, so we had coming into this week about 300 advisor registrations. That number is a little light, with one huge caveat. We traditionally haven't driven any registrations until the agenda was released. And that's because advisors want to see who's speaking and who's presenting before they register. So those 300 are almost bonus registrations because they took place before we released the agenda. So we released that agenda this morning. We expect a very, very significant uptick in registrations from this point forward. We're also expecting more registrants, more advisor attendees than in years past, simply because the cost, we're charging $150 to register for the event, which is a significant discount. I don't know what it was, $700 or $800 or $900, maybe $1,000 previously. Number one. Number two, there are no costs to get to the event, airplane tickets or hotels. And also the ease of access. I mean, you can access the conference from wherever you are versus coming to Chicago. So we expect more attendees this year than in years past.
Okay, great. How are you planning to engage advisors before, during, after the event?
Yeah, so there are two things that we're thinking about. How does Morningstar engage with advisors? And we have our whole corporate marketing team, both in the States and globally. And actually, we're pushing the Morningstar Investment Conference globally too, which is a new thing for us, simply because it's accessible now to anybody, anytime, or anywhere they are. But we have a full-blown marketing effort to try to drive registrations on our part. That's something that we do every year. And then one of the focuses for us from a sponsor perspective is, given a pool of attendees at the virtual event, how do we incent engagement with and connections with our sponsors? And that's something I can get into when we talk a little bit about the sponsor tiers and the components contained within.
Yeah, why don't we go right there then? Tell us about the sponsorship opportunities and really, I mean, this I think is really the essence of what a lot of people are interested in knowing is costs and then opportunities. And then
sure. Does everybody have access to the sponsor kit that we sent out? And if not, we can send it and make sure that everybody can see it. But there are three tiers to sponsors, or three sponsorship tiers at the virtual event. One is an associate level for $15,000. One is a lead level at $25,000, and one is the principal at $35,000. So there's a single principal. There are going to be 8 leads, and there are about 20 associates. It's not set in stone, but that's what we're thinking. Okay. Now, if anybody's been at or sponsored previous events, you would see that we previously had 4 sponsor tiers. We had a major in there. We reduced or we eliminated the major simply because we didn't have enough components at the virtual event to create 4 differentiated tiers of sponsorships. So that's the first thing you'd notice. The second thing is the pricing is very, very significantly discounted versus the in-person event. Okay. And the third thing that's important to realize is that that pool, so right now it's 29 sponsorships total. In years past, that's roughly the number of sponsors we had at the in-person event, but that was complemented by a very significant number of exhibitors. So you could get in the exhibit hall at MIC for, I think this year it was originally priced at $12,000, where an associate was originally priced at $21,500. We eliminated exhibitors at the virtual event in order to make sure that the sponsors had direct access to the advisor attendees, and that their engagement wasn't diluted by exhibitors. Okay. So that's important because we now have a bunch of exhibitors that are scrambling to book sponsorships because otherwise they're shut out of the conference.
Okay. And can you just sort of describe sort of what a virtual booth is and sort of how?
Yeah, for sure. So it's important to know that at this point, at this stage in the game, it's likely that we only have associate sponsorships left. Okay. And I'll explain why that is. We had a full lineup of sponsors booked for the June event. And when we had to tear up that playbook and come up with a new virtual event, we gave the previous sponsors the opportunity to renew at the virtual event. And that wasn't quite a ROFR, right, a first refusal, but we gave them up until last week to make that decision. So we've only recently been able to see exactly how many previous sponsors were recommitted and how many sponsorships remain available. So at this point, we're really going to focus on the associates at 15,000. The core of the associate sponsorship is what we call virtual booth. So it's a 2D experience, almost like a web page, if you will, that includes a couple of 10-minute videos that the sponsors can upload. I believe it's 6 pieces of content that you can upload to the booth. So that can be anything from a sales brochure to a fun fact sheet to general thought leadership or market commentary. There will be links in your sponsor booth to your social media and to your external web page. We're going to give you what we call booth poll questions. So if you want to ask advisors that enter, what they think about, your awareness of your products or what they think about volatility or whatever you want to ask them, we'll give you that opportunity. And then I think very significantly, there's live text chat availability. Okay, so when an advisor enters your booth, they'll be identified even with a picture if they upload a picture when they register, but you'll know exactly who's entering the booth, and then you'll be able to, or your team will be able to engage with that advisor directly over the course of the conference. Okay, and we're going to provide, if any of you have run digital ad campaigns, that's not what this is, but there are some similarities in that we're going to provide reporting about the engagement that occurs in your booth. So who downloaded what, and who visited when, and all those sorts of things. So you'll know exactly what was going on over the course of the conference. Okay.
And Dan, kind of like, I don't know, the real physical exhibit hall, there can be a lot of advisors there, but then none of them come to your booth, or
yeah,
so like, how do you get is there anything you're doing to push people toward the virtual exhibit hall?
Yeah, it's an ongoing effort, but it's absolutely top of mind. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to have sponsor ads running throughout the conference platform that are clickable back to the sponsor booths. We're going to have for the principal and the lead, I know not directly relevant to this conversation, but we're going to have some of their live events as part of the conference schedule. But suffice to say that we are very, very committed to incenting engagement, not only with sponsor booths, but remember, there are going to be a number of Morningstar booths at the event too. If you think about the physical event that we've had in the past, we have people from Morningstar Direct and Morningstar Advisor Workstation and Morningstar Data and Morningstar Essentials. All sorts of salespeople and thought leaders and analysts that are available at the Morningstar Investment Conference for advisors to engage with. So we need to figure that out, and that's something that we're working on as we speak.
Okay, and Dan, I have the matrix from the PDF on the website.
Yeah.
Can you just lead us through anything else that an associate sponsor would be entitled to?
Yeah, I think the first thing, really important thing to keep in mind is that while the conference itself is going to take place over 2 days, the conference experience is going to live for an additional 30 days. Okay, so when you see the matrix, and I apologize if not everybody has access to it.
I can share it if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, give me a moment here. Right there.
And I can share it also. I have access if necessary.
Oh,
Okay,
can you see the screen?
yep.
Okay. Let me see if I can make it any bigger. There we go. Does that
That's
help?
great.
Okay.
So the first line of the first component listed is a virtual booth, which we talked about, and then some additional videos and content that you can upload as an associate into that booth. You get 4 conference registrations, and again, those are valued at $150 per. And then I just mentioned that the booth is going to be live for 2 days. The conference itself will be live for 2 days. What I mean by that is live speakers and live engagement, anything that's taking place live will run on the 16th and 17th. And then the conference experience will live for an additional 30 days in an on-demand manner. So if you think about an associate sponsored booth, everything is going to live for those additional 30 days except the live text chat. Okay. And that's important to realize, because you're going to have an opportunity to continue with engagement with advisor attendees as they come back to the conference platform over that next month. Okay. So I mentioned sponsor ads. Those are designed specifically to drive traffic back to the sponsor booths. Logo and conference promotional websites. So if you Google, for example, the Morningstar Investment Conference, and you see our conference website where you can register, see the agenda, we're going to list clickable logos for our sponsor partners. Logo and conference marketing emails. We're making very concerted efforts, like we do every year, to drive registrations to the event, and we have our sponsors included in those emails. List of your booth visitors with contact information. I mentioned that everything here is going to be measured and tracked, and we're going to share that information with our sponsor partners. One-time use of pre- and post-conference opt-in attendee lists. When advisors register for the event, they will be given the option to check a box. It says, I'd like my information to be shared with sponsor partners. And then you as a sponsor can take that list and reach out via email to those advisors before the event, and then once after the event. We typically see that sponsors reach out before the event to talk about what they're going to have going on in their booth. And then after, just to check up and maybe do some lead gen. Okay. Full page ad, the Q4, the Q1 issue of the Morningstar magazine. That's deployed quarterly to 50,000 financial advisors and 10,000 institutional investors. And that's the associate package.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that sounds great. Dan, is there a list of who's already committed, which firms to the sponsorships, or is that on the?
Yeah, I can't share it, and I haven't looked at the conference website yet this morning. But at some point, all of the sponsors are going to be listed on the conference website.
Okay.
I apologize. I looked at our press release, but I wasn't on the conference site this morning. So
There you go.
okay. Well, there you go.
There you go. I think that's it.
Okay. So far, I guess.
So far, right.
Yeah. So what I can tell you is like I said, we have verbal commitments from the principal and all of the leads and most of the associates. We're going back and forth on contracts with everybody. So the only partners that are listed on the site right now are those that have signed a contract.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably have 3 or 4 or 5 associates available right now.
Okay. And then Dan, one last question for you that may be out of left field. So tell me if we need to redirect it. But you did say the word at one point, media, making the conference appealing to the media. I assume that's like the business and financial press.
Yeah.
That's SunStar's sort of bread and butter. It's part of our core offering is we work with those journalists on behalf of our clients, our asset managers.
Sure.
And one of the reasons, and I've been to the conference at least 12 times over the last many years. And one of the most compelling reasons for many of our clients to attend the conference, besides the networking with advisors and in the booth opportunities and other things, is the chance to interact with the media.
Yeah, exactly.
Press room or otherwise. How are you managing that this year, or is it just something we can't really replicate?
Yeah, I need to get back to you on that. It's TBD at this point, but you raise a great point. When I'm asked by either potential sponsors or people who commit to sponsorships, and I'm looking back pre-virtual, okay? When I'm asked about best practices for making the most of the conference experience, absolutely. One of the things that I press home about is the fact that you have a terrific number of financial media in that exhibit hall at MIC for 3 days. And if your communications team or your PR firm or whomever it is can proactively arrange for interaction and exposure with that media, you can really hit a home run with the conference. So I apologize for not having that answer. It's TBD, but I can get back to you with it. I don't know how it translates, to be quite honest. So
yeah. I mean, I assume on some level, maybe they'll be given registration opportunities to at least listen to the scheduled group of attendees, but Let
Yeah,
me know that.
I know that a lot of that stuff in the past, those arrangements have taken place before MIC happens. But the fact that media is in the room physically, I think, caused a lot of organic interactions. And again, I'm not sure how that translates to a virtual world.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'll ask the question.
Great. Well, thank you, Dan. Why don't I go ahead? Marilyn, do you want to unmute the line?
I definitely will do
questions.
that. I'm going to unmute pretty much everybody. A couple of you have muted yourself, so you'll have to do that. And then anybody who has a question can speak up.
Dan, I have a question. So now that the conference has moved, virtually, and for those asset managers that are on the fence in terms of attending, what would you say to them in terms of, what are opportunities that would be available to them now that maybe was not available to them in the past with the physical conference?
Well, I think, like I said, I can't make any promises about attendance, but we're expecting a broader base of attendees, number one. Number two, the fact that a lot of the engagement that's going to take place is going to be trackable. So these aren't going to be business cards being exchanged. There's going to be an electronic record of what happens, what advisor downloads, what white paper or fact sheet or sales brochure. So I think that's important too. The fact that it's going to exist for an additional 30 days, I think is big also. Now I don't know exactly what sort of engagement is going to happen for those additional 30 days, but it's a nice opportunity nonetheless. So for me, those are the opportunities, and the things that we focused on with sponsorships that our sponsors always felt were important. It was engagement, it was lead gen, it was distributing content. We've done everything we can to make sure that those things translate well in the virtual experience.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Michael, I have a quick question. Have you done any fact finding with advisors in terms of what they think about the format, especially as it relates to sponsors and having the virtual rooms for us to provide content and things like that? I'm just curious to see if you've heard anything from them.
We have not, but what we've done is we have a dedicated conference team that runs our conference in the U.S. and conferences around the world that have been working with. They did a ton of exploration with different virtual conference platforms, trying to understand best practices, the best setup, the best components for sponsorship packages. And they focused in on Intrado, so we're really leaning on them more so than like doing focus groups, potentially with advisors to find out what they think. I mean, I will, there's a big asterisk here in that this is an unknown for Morningstar. We've never done this. And this fall, starting with MIC in the States, I think we're doing 5 or 6 or 7 of these in a row around the world. So it's very new for us. These are very important events for Morningstar, for our brand globally. We're taking very, very seriously. And again, it's not only important for us, but for attendees and for sponsors. And hopefully we're getting it right. I think we are. But no, I'm being a little long-winded, but no, we didn't do focus groups with advisors.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Dan, do you have a mock-up of what the virtual the virtual booth will look like? Is that something?
Yeah, just give me a second, I'll find it. It's not.
Curious.
Yeah, it's not the, so this is just a, bear with me here, I have to find it.
Okay, and I have just changed it, so you should be able to share your screen also.
Yep.
Okay.
Like, does Intrado just offer the mock-up or just the technology backdrop, and then the fund company has to design their own sort of room?
Yeah, it's customizable. So this is the, this first slide here is what the Morningstar conference will look like in terms, and everybody can see that, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what the like the Morningstar conference itself will look like. Obviously, it'll be customized with our branding and our colors and our font and all those things. Okay, but this is what if you're an advisor attendee and you want to go to the 10:30 breakout on fixed income. This is where you'd be able to do that. This is what the exhibit hall would look like. Again, this is a sales brochure from Intrado. So nothing here is customized for Morningstar. Another reason, by the way, that we limited, we're limiting sponsorships is that we don't want to dilute or we don't want to have too many sponsors fighting for engagement with a set number of advisor attendees. So theoretically, we could have had 100 or 150 sponsors or exhibitors, and we chose to put a pretty strict limit on it. So this is the exhibit hall. This is what a sponsored booth will look like roughly. Again, you'll have an opportunity to customize it to a point. You can see that there's a main video player. There are links above to content. Live chat is on the left. So again, all the components that we talked about that are on that matrix will be included here, and this will be customizable to a point.
Dan, do you know, is chat one-on-one? It's not everybody sees it, correct?
Let me get back. I haven't been asked that. I don't know the answer to that, so let me get back to you on that. Okay?
All right. And the videos are playing all the time, or is it possible to literally engage like this with a Zoom option? Do you know?
I believe they're on demand. So there's no, Intrado actually doesn't give us the opportunity to do, even for Morningstar, to do live video engagements within these booths. Okay, so the only live component within the booth is going to be the chat functionality.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, do you know if anyone is, when you go into an exhibit hall and somebody does some cool stuff, like they're just really creative and they're really engaged, they grab you, it's like something that is there a way that people are trying to conceive of such a thing in this virtual world, or is it just?
No, I think I think our sponsors are a bit more limited just based on the technology. So no, and I understand you're right. Whether it's the visual appeal of sponsor booths or exhibit booths at live events. No, we're not offering anything like that. Intrado's not offering anything like that.
All right. Any other questions from anyone else? Or from someone who's already asked a question? You're welcome to ask another. All right. Well, Dan, if people are interested, and we'll certainly get back to them on the couple topics that we for some follow up on, shall we have them reach out to you? I mean,
Absolutely. Reach out to me. I have a sales colleague that covers the Midwest and the West Coast in the U.S. So depending on where you are, either I'll be your point of contact moving forward, or my colleague Joe Sawyer will be. But either way, reach out to me now, and either I'll help you directly or I'll pass you along to Joe. But either way, you'll be in good hands. And the thing I would wrap up with is this experience going to be different? Yes, it's going to be different for everybody. Okay, Morningstar advisors and sponsors. But it's still the Morningstar Investment Conference, and that's a really big deal. It's a big deal to us. It's a big deal in the space, and I know that the sponsors that almost all of our sponsors recommitted, not all, but most of them recommitted, and they're all very excited to test the virtual waters with us, if you will, and we're expecting a really great experience for everybody. We'd love to have some of the people in the chat room right now or in the Zoom call participate. So please feel free to reach out.
Dan, hit stop share. There should be a red button. Okay, great. We will send out a recording link, and we will also include Dan's phone number and email for anybody who has additional questions.
Okay. Okay. Well, Dan, good luck to you. This is it's exciting. It shows the tenacity of people and to figure out a different way to share the information. So we're excited to see how everything goes.
Yeah, it's been a process, I can tell you that. But we have really great people working on this, and I'm sure it's going to be a terrific event. So.
Very good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank
Yeah,
you.
my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.